Today we're going to talk about diffusion flames, or something we call also non-premix combustion. So why do we need to talk about this? You remember in the first lessons we talked about premix flames. For premix flames we were basically taking fuel, adding air, mixing all that, and we started studying this combustion after this mixing phase. We saw that premix flames were nice, we could study them, predict the speed at which they propagate, but we said also that they had two problems. The first problem is that they are dangerous. If you have a premixed volume anywhere and a spark in the same place, you will have an explosion, so you don't want to do that in practice. And the second problem also is that you had this flammability limits issue. If you mix air and fuel, it will not burn for all conditions. It will burn only if you add the right amount of fuel compared to air, and we said this was between an equivalence ratio of 0.6 to 2 typically for standard temperatures and pressures. So in practice, for industrial applications, we need to be able to burn things differently. So what is differently? Well, without mixing. That means non-premixed. That's the objective today. What means non-premixed? So you're going to take now a burner, which is a combustion chamber. Now, instead of having one fuel here coming with a mixture of air, we will have two inlets. One will be called the fuel stream. That will be the flux 1 here coming through this inlet. And the second one will be the oxidizer stream. This is not the most general case. In the most general case, you could imagine you inject fuel on both places or air on both places. We won't do that for the moment. We will suppose that in one, you inject the fuel, maybe with some nitrogen, and in two, you will inject oxygen and no fuel. So typically, here, in many cases, we're going to have pure methane, so that the fuel mass fraction here, YF0 will be equal to unity. This is if you inject pure methane. And in most cases, for the oxidizer stream, we're going to have air. Now in air, of course, you know that nitrogen is not going to burn. The fuel, the oxidizer is oxygen, and typically we're going to have a mass fraction of oxygen here, which is 0.23. But of course, there are more general cases. For most examples I'm going to do today, these examples will be related to a case where we inject pure gaseous methane here, and here air, which means this amount of oxygen and the rest will be nitrogen. When you do that, the temperatures here can be different. Typically, this is the temperature of the air, and if you're talking about a gas turbine, it will be of the order of 700 to 800 K. Here, this would be the injection temperature of the fuel, and this one can be very low, typically 300 to 400 K. So the first thing I want to discuss about this is the stoichiometry. You remember we defined an equivalence ratio, phi, when we discussed premix flames. The first thing I want you to see here is that this definition, which was good for premix flames, is not good for diffusion flames. Of course, we can always define it. Why is it not good? In a definition like this, if you want it to mean something, YFO, in a definition like this, YFO and YOO should be taken at the same point. This is what we were doing for premix flames. We were talking about the fuel mass fraction and the oxidizer mass fraction at the same point. But here, if you look at the definition of YFO and YOO, they are taken at different points. So typically, this number will not tell you whether combustion here proceeds in stoichiometric conditions or not. It has nothing to do with that. You can compute phi, actually, For example, if you talk about methane again, CH4 air, you know that S, which is nu O WO divided by nu F WF, is 4. We have done that many times before. So if you look at the examples I was using here, you will have phi equal 4 times. This is S. YF0, which is 1, because you have pure methane on one side, and YO0, which is 0.23. And this number is of the order of 17. Okay, so you see that this equivalence ratio is not something, the one you want here. If you are an engineer working in industry and you are designing a system like this, obviously this number doesn't tell you much. You need to talk about flow rates. You need to say how much fuel stream is coming in, how much oxidizer stream is coming in every second. And this is going to give you the true equivalence ratio. So we're going to call it the global equivalence ratio, which is needed for a diffusion flame. And this one is given by the following definition. It is basically you make a balance every second. You know that you inject a mass of fuel, which is m dot f. You inject a mass of oxidizer, which is m dot o. So really the equilibrium in terms of reactions and of stoichiometry is to work with the reaction rates, with the flow rates. Now these two quantities, this is the fuel flow rate, and this is the oxidizer flow rate. Now we know that the fuel flow rate is just the total flow rate here, which is injected here, multiplied by the fuel mass fraction at this point. And the oxidizer flow rate is the total oxidizer stream flow rate here, multiplied by the oxidizer mass fraction. So you can write this as S YFO over YOO multiplied by the ratio of the flow rate. In other words, if you use this definition of the equivalence ratio, this is what you have. And this is the one which means something in terms of combustion. For diffusion flame, don't care about this one, you want to worry about this one. Okay, so when you talk about premixed flames, I have shown you that there were some simple theoretical tools to study premixed flames. Basically, this match asymptotics expansion we did in a simplified form is the central element for premixed flames. When you talk about diffusion flames, there is also a very essential element of theory here, which is called the mixture fraction. And in the next hour or so, I will introduce this notion and show you how it is used in practice. The mixture fraction, and this is a difference compared to what we've done for premixed flames, the mixture fraction is nice to do theory, and this is what I'm going to do today, but it's also used in most codes that you're going to see if you work in combustion. Almost all of them are working with mixture fraction. The mixture fraction is not a notion which is useful only for combustion. Every time you have a problem, for example, of dispersions of pollutants in the atmosphere without combustion, you're going to use also the mixture fraction. And I'm going to introduce the mixture fraction by first studying what we call pure mixing. So the pure mixing problem is the same geometry you have here. You're injecting fuel, you're injecting air, but you don't ignite. Okay, you don't put a spark. So this thing will not ignite. It will be just a problem of mixing without combustion. No combustion. So in this case, the problem we have is basically a problem of one stream mixing with another stream. What can we say about this? How do we study a problem like this? In a case like this one, we know what's going to happen. These two things will meet here. There will be turbulence or not. They will mix. And after a certain time, they will be completely mixed. Okay? If this tube is very long, what we expect at the outlet is to see these two streams completely mixed. To study that, we need some tools. And what I'm going to do now is to show you how these things are done in practice. So let me jump right away here. So the first thing I want to do is to show that one variable only can describe mixing. When I say one variable, I mean one local variable. And this variable will be the mixture fraction. Another way to say the same thing is that in a problem like this, if I know at one point one thing, which is the mixture fraction, then I know all the rest. I know all the species concentrations, and I know the temperature also. So how do we prove that? Well, the equations we need to care about are the following. Okay, we have a mixture of species. So this is the total derivative that we have used up to now. And this is the diffusion term, and we have no combustion. Okay, for the moment I've said no reaction, so that's easy. Here I will list the assumptions which I'm going to need to do these derivations. The first assumption is that I'm going to say that the coefficient of diffusion of the species K is equal for all species, and it's called D. It's the same. In a problem like this, I will concentrate for the moment only at fuel and oxidizer. But the demonstration could be done also for all the other species. The theory is exactly the same. So the equation for fuel is really rho dy fuel dt equal gradient of rho d gradient of y fuel. And we have the same equation for the oxidizer. We're going to try to look for similarities in this equation to prove that they depend all on the same quantities. So how do we do that? Well, the first step is to normalize these equations. So we're going to say that we define a number called ZF, which is the fuel mass fraction, normalized by the value it has in the fuel stream, which is the maximum value it can take. This number is a constant, okay? So the equation for this guy is the same as the equation for this one. We have just normalized it. We do the same thing for the oxidizer, YO divided by YO0. Of course, the two equations are the same, so we find rho d ZF dt equal to gradient of rho d grad ZF. And rho d ZO dt that's simple, okay? Now, the boundary conditions are the following. if you look at the definition of ZF, of course, it's going to be 1 in the fuel stream and 0 in the oxidizer stream. I said I would not put any oxidizer in the fuel stream and any fuel in the oxidizer stream. So ZF goes from 1 up there to 0 when you are in the oxidizer stream, and ZO is doing the other way, 0 to 1. So you see here that if you add these two equations, you obtain an interesting equation for a quantity which I would call ZT for total. And you see that the differential equation for ZT is this total derivative equal to diffusion. And what are the boundary conditions for ZT? Well, it's the sum of the two. So the boundary condition for ZT is that it's 1 in the fuel stream and it's 1 in the oxidizer stream. So now this is also a very generic problem for diffusion, for mixing. We have a differential equation here where we have convection here and diffusion, and we have the same boundary conditions on both sides. I've done something similar a few days ago for premix flames. Here it's a bit more complicated because we still have the time derivative. So what I want to do now, I want to prove that ZT equal 1 everywhere. We don't know that for the moment, okay? We know that ZT is 1 up there in the fuel stream far away. It's 1 also in the oxidizer stream, and we know it follows this equation. What I'm claiming now is that using this equation and these boundary conditions, ZT is equal to 1 everywhere. Why is it so? Well, the first thing is that if ZT equal 1 at t equals 0, I claim that then ZT will remain equal to unity. That's rather easy to see, okay? If ZT is homogeneous, there will be no gradients in this equation, so the time derivative will be 0, so ZT will never change. Okay? Now if ZT is not equal to unity at t equals 0, what I claim is that for long times, if you wait long enough, ZT will go to 1 everywhere. Okay, I'm not going to show that mathematically. I want to show it, I would say, physically. So let me explain what this really means. Suppose you have a domain here. This is what we're doing at the moment. We have a domain here where rho of dZt dt is equal to the gradient of rho d grad zt. And we know that on the boundaries, everywhere, zt is equal to unity. You can forget a little bit about the equations for the moment. Suppose this is the amount of money that each of you has, okay? And this is the equation which is controlling the amount of money you have. What does this equation say? This is the substantial derivative. This is basically the change of money when you travel in this domain. And what this equation is telling you is that when you travel along any trajectory in this domain, independently of the velocity field you have, the only reason why you are losing your money or gaining money is because of diffusion. What is diffusion? Well, it's basically, if I walk here, I have 2 euros with me and you have only 1, I will have to give you some. This is diffusion, okay? And it works also the other way. If someone has more money than me, he will need to give money to me. If you think about a problem like this one, and you remember that on the border here, all the guys must have 1 euro, each of them at all time, because this is the boundary condition, you see that if you wait long enough, the only stable solution for this problem is that zt must be equal to 1 everywhere. Again, this comes from the fact that there is no source term here. No one is getting paid. Okay, here there is no additional term. The only way you can exchange money is by losing some to the poor guys or gaining some from the rich guys. But on the border, everyone has the same amount. So in the end, if here, for example, you have a 2, you come back after a few minutes, the 2 will have diffused and come back to 1. So if you wait long enough, the only solution here will be ZT equal to unity. In practice, in most systems, ZT is equal to unity at the initial time anyway, so we don't need to care about it. And you see that this means that a simple solution for this problem is that ZT, which is equal to YF divided by YF0 plus YO divided by YO0. This is ZF plus ZO. This thing is always equal to 1. So it means basically that these two variables are linked. We can define the mixture fraction by Z equal ZF, for example. And this will mean that at any point, the fuel mass fraction will be YFO multiplied by Z. This is just the definition of ZF. Okay, you replace ZF by small z, and you get this result here. And the same way, using this relation now, you can find YO, which should just be equal to YO0 multiplied by 1 minus Z. And those two links, you see it's a linear relation between the mixture fraction and the fuel mass fraction, or oxidizer mass fraction. They are called the mixing lines. I could have written them for all the species, actually. For any species which follows the same diffusion relation, we will have the same type of link here. And how do they look? Okay, this is a plot that we're going to do many times today. Here we put the mixture fraction. When the mixture fraction is equal to 0, we are in the oxidizer stream. And when it's equal to unity, we are in the fuel stream. So what these relations are saying is that if you know Z at any point, you know the fuel mass fraction, and you know it's going to be a straight line. So it's going to look like this one. This is YF of Z. And here, you have YF0. Okay, this is just this relation. And for the oxidizer, you have this one. Here you have YO0, and here you have YO of Z. Which means that if I know Z, I know all mass fractions. In other words, in a problem like this one with two inlets, you don't need to worry about all the species. You need only to worry about one thing, which is the mixture fraction. If you have the mixture fraction, you have everything else. At least for the species. There's something I haven't done. I'm going to do it now. What about temperature? Well, I can do for the temperature exactly the same thing. I just need one or a few more assumptions. I'm going to write here I'm going to write them here actually. I'm going to suppose again, and we've done that last time, that the Lewis number, which is lambda divided by rho CPD, is equal to unity. That means again that the heat diffusivity, lambda over rho Cp, is equal to the fuel diffusivity. That means that the heat and the fuel diffuse in the same way. And of course, I'm going to say that we are working at low Mach number, but that's in most cases it's not a restrictive assumption, and we have no heat losses. For example, there is no radiation or funny terms of that side. So the equation for the temperature here, if we do that, would be the following. It will be d over dt of rho t, or let me write it down with total derivative, it will be simple. So it will be rho dt equal gradient of lambda over Cp grad T. Now you see again, if I want to do the same game for temperature that I've done for the species, I need to introduce a reduced temperature. So the reduced temperature is Zt equal T minus the temperature in the oxidizer, normalized by the temperature difference between the fuel and the oxidizer. The equation for Zt is exactly the same as the equation for T, okay? Everything is linear, so you can replace here, and you find an equation for Zt which is the same as before. Okay, so if you look at the fuel and at the oxidizer stream, it means that the boundary condition for Zt is that it's 1 in the fuel and 0 in the oxidizer. And the equation for Zt is the same as the equation for Zf or Zo. So I can do exactly the same demonstration. I'm not going to redo it again, but it's easy to show that Zt is also going to be equal to Zf and equal to the mixture fraction. Exactly the same demonstration I've done for the species. You can redo it here. You have an equation without source term, which has the same boundary condition, then all these terms have to be equal. So that gives you a very simple and intuitive actually result, is that Zt being what I've written here, T minus TO0 divided by Tf0 minus TO0, the temperature at every point must be T equal Z Tf0 plus 1 minus Z TO0. Which means that if you know Z at one point, you can directly say that the temperature is like an average of the fuel temperature multiplied by Z and the oxidizer temperature multiplied by 1 minus Z. So it's basically only a weight average between the two temperatures. And this goes also into the mixing line. Let me plot it here. I will have here Tf0, and here I will have TO0, and this will be T of Z. So you see that if at one point I know Z, I can read, on those mixing lines, I can read the oxidizer mass fraction, the fuel mass fraction, and the temperature. I don't need to know anything else. Just give me mixture fraction, and from that I can guess all the other states that I need. So this makes things simpler. It means really that if you need to solve a mixing problem like this one, you don't need to solve one equation for temperature and an equation for the species. You need to solve only one equation, the equation for Z, this one. If you have the solution for this equation, you will be able to use the lines which are here, and you will find the species and the temperature everywhere. So now let me give you an intuitive explanation of the mixture fraction. What really is this mixture fraction? A good way to imagine what's going on when you talk about diffusion flame is to say, let me take a small box here. In this box, at a given time, I have a mass M1 coming from stream 1, and I have a mass M2 coming from stream 2. Well, it's obvious, okay? Because in this box, there are only two inlets, the 1 and the 2. So obviously, at this point, if you have mass, it's coming either from here or from here. And so the total mass here is M1 plus M2. In this small box here, it's M1 plus M2. And the mass of fuel is M1 multiplied by YF0. Because if you have carried a mass of this stream to this point, which is M1, this mass will contain a mass of fuel, which is just M1 by the fuel mass fraction. Which means that the fuel mass fraction at this point will be YF equal M1 YF0 divided by the total mass, M1 plus M2. Okay, it's just the ratio of the mass of fuel by the total mass. And so Z, the fuel mass fraction, the mixture fraction, will be M1 divided by M1 plus M2. So the mixture fraction is exactly what you expect it to be. It describes the mixture in mass between these two streams. If you're at one point and you have Z equal 1/2, it means that half of the mass coming from stream 1 and half of it is coming from stream 2 in mass. Very simple interpretation, okay? Anywhere you sit here, when you know Z, you know how much mass is coming from here and how much is coming from there. If Z equal unity, typically here, Z will be equal to 1, here, Z will be equal to 0, and here, Z will change like this, coming from continuously from 0 to 1. And if I know Z at one point again, I know everything about mixing. Now, this Z, this mixture fraction, can be local or global. And in combustion, we use both. When we say local, it means you take Z at one point. So you go here and you say Z equal 0.25 or something, you know, and you can define the field of Z. And which means if you're doing a CFD code, you're going to have fields of Z in 3D where Z is defined everywhere, and it can change with time. If you are in the turbulent flow, Z will change with time. But you can also use a Z which is global. A global Z can be defined by Z global equal M dot 1 divided by M dot 1 plus M dot 2. So it's simply here, looking at the flow rates globally for all this system, you look at how much fuel you're injecting, kilogram per second, compared to the total mass which goes into your problem, and this gives you a global Z. And what I want to do here is use these simple tools here to come back to something we have not done for the premix case. When we talk about the premix case, I always told you, everything is premixed. Now let's see how you mix things. To mix things, you need what we call a premixer. So let's do the application. To pre-mixing. So premixing basically is taking a system where you inject 1 and 2, and you use a long duct here, and you use mixing devices here to make sure that at the outlet you get here a flow which is well mixed. So if it is well mixed, you will be able, for example, to define the equivalence ratio here, which I'm going to call phi g, exactly like the one I have defined at the beginning of the course. And the equivalence ratio at this point here will be S multiplied by the fuel mass fraction at the exit divided by the oxidizer mass fraction at the exit. Okay? Now, at this point, if it is well mixed, it means also that Z is homogeneous. There are no gradients of Z anymore. Everything is mixed. And Z is equal to Z global here equal to M1 divided by M1 plus M2. And if we know the mixture fraction, we know also these two quantities because they are on the mixing line. Whatever happens anywhere in this tube, we know that if we know the mixture fraction, again, we know, because we have the mixing lines, YF and YO. YF is going to be equal to YF0 multiplied by Z global, and YO will be YO0 multiplied by 1 minus Z global. And so this gives you phi, this number, multiplied by Z global divided by 1 minus Z global. So you see, these two quantities, the mean mixture fraction and the global equivalence ratio, are just describing the same thing in a premixer. If you know one, you know the other. And the link actually is not linear, as you can see here. You have a Z divided by 1 minus Z to obtain the equivalence ratio. So this gives us also a very simple result here. If you're trying to build a mixer and to compute here the mixture fraction and the equivalence ratio, the equivalence ratio will go from 0. If you forgot to put fuel, of course, you will have a 0 equivalence ratio at the outlet. And if you put no oxidizer, you will have an infinite equivalence ratio at the outlet. The mixture fraction can be plotted exactly on the same axis, Zg. And it changes also from 0. 0 is the case where m.1 equals 0, so there is no fuel injection. You will have 0 equivalence ratio, 0 Zg. And if you put only oxidizer, no, only fuel, excuse me, you will have 1 here. So the case where the mixture fraction is equal to unity corresponds to the case where you have an infinite equivalence ratio. There is one point which is, of course, of interest, which is this point here, 1. When the equivalence ratio is equal to unity, this corresponds here to a number which is called the stoichiometric mixture fraction. And the stoichiometric mixture fraction, it's easy to obtain. You say phi g equal 1 here, and you find Z global. So I'm going to put that here and make some space. You just invert this relation. If you say phi global equal 1 is equal to phi Z global stoichiometric, let's call it stoichiometric, divided by 1 minus Z stoichiometric, this gives you something we're going to see again. The stoichiometric mixture fraction is equal to 1 over 1 plus phi, or 1 over 1 plus S YFO divided by YOO. So this is the value of the mixture fraction, which gives you exactly an equivalence ratio of unity when you mix things. So let's do an example again. If you take CH4 pure versus air, what I've been doing since the beginning of today's course, you have S equal to 4, you have YF0 equal unity, you have YO0 equal 0.23. You replace here and you find Z stoichiometric equal 0.054. So it's not a big surprise, okay? It means that if you want to take some air and add fuel into it so that after mixing you find a stoichiometric mixture, you need to have 5%, 5.4% of CH4 compared to 94.6% of air. Notice, of course, that at this point here, at the outlet of my premixer, the fuel mass fraction at stoichiometry will be equal to the fuel mass fraction at the inlet multiplied by Z stoichiometric. So this is 1. This is the number we have found already for the premixed flames, okay? It's the same. 5% of fuel to get a stoichiometric mixture of methane and air. This relation, the fact that the fuel mass fraction at stoichiometry is equal to Z stoichiometry, is true only if you have pure fuel. If you have a fuel which is diluted, then you will have different relations here. Okay, at this point I have finished the mixing, which means I know, using these mixing lines, I know that there's nothing very complicated in this problem. If I have the mixture fraction at every point, I have everything else. Now, what I want to do now, and this seems at the beginning much more difficult, I'm going to do the same thing with combustion. And I'm going to show you that with combustion we can do exactly the same thing if we need only one more assumption. But that's not a big assumption. And we can also solve the problem with combustion. So to do that, I'm going to have to rederive the same equations, exactly what I've done for mixing, except now I need to add the reaction terms. The reaction terms, I'm going to write the equations here. We're going to say that, we're going to look only at fuel and oxidizer. Those are the things we need to care about for a flame like this. So this is the equation of fuel, which we just wrote. But now we have combustion. So now we have plus omega dot fuel, the reaction rate of fuel. And remember, this is the term we don't like. It has exponentials. It has all the complexity of combustion. Now, we have the same equation for the oxidizer. Plus omega dot oxidizer. Those two terms are negative because we are burning these things. And we have the same equation for temperature. Okay. Now things get more interesting, okay? What I need to do now is I need to build a passive scalar again. What is a passive scalar? Passive scalars, the mixture fraction, for example, is one passive scalar. A passive scalar is an equation without source term. Remember that the source term is not your friend. Any equation you can build without source term is going to be much easier. So I need to find a way to construct passive scalars from these equations. How do we do that? We need to know some things about these source terms to be able to combine equations. To do that, I need one more assumption here. I need to say that the combustion is single step. This is exactly what we said also for premixed flame. We said, well, combustion basically happens through one single step reaction. Fuel plus oxidizer goes to product. If we do that, remember we said omega dot fuel is the fuel reaction rate, and we've shown that omega dot T, the heat release, was equal to minus Q omega dot fuel, where this was the heat of the reaction. Something you know, okay? It's a big number in joules per kilogram. So here, we know that this thing can be expressed as a function of omega dot F. What about omega dot O? Well, you know that omega dot F is equal to nu F WF Q, where this is the advancement of the reaction, of the single reaction we have. And since there is only one reaction, we can forget the indices here. And omega dot O is nu O WO Q. So if you just divide the two, you find omega dot O equal S omega dot fuel. S is, of course, this ratio divided by this thing. It's always the same S, which is not a complicated notion, okay? It means that if you are doing methane combustion and you burn 1 kilogram of fuel, you have burned 4 kilograms of oxygen. There's nothing magical about it. It means that this equation can also be written in the following way. Rho dy f dt, so I'm just going to copy the same equation here, equal grad of rho d, grad of yf, plus omega dot fuel, and I don't need to say anything about this term. You will see I will kill it in a few minutes. The important point is that the second equation now has a Stokes term which is very close, which is S omega dot fuel, and the last equation, rho dt dt for the temperature, also has a source term which is a function of the initial terms. All right? Now you look at these equations, you say, well, there's one thing I could do is to eliminate the source terms here by combining these equations in such a way that they go away. Of course. How do we do that? Well, it's easy. You just, for example, multiply the first equation by S and subtract this one from this one. You will have S omega dot F minus S omega dot F. So the resulting equation will have no source term. So we can build a passive scalar by combining these equations 2 by 2. Every time you combine them 2 by 2, you can do one passive scalar, so you will have 3 passive scalars at the end. So what is the first one? The first one is, you say you multiply this one by S. So the first passive scalar will be S YF minus this one, minus YO. This is a new variable. Okay, S is a constant. And this is the S multiplied by YF minus YO. We're going to give it a name. We're going to call it Z1. And you see that if you form the equation for Z1, you multiply this equation by S to subtract this guy. These two things go away. Now, since the diffusion coefficients are the same, you can directly see that the equation for Z is rho dZ1 over dt, it's a big Z for the moment, equal gradient of rho d grad Z1. It's a big Z for the moment. Up. It's a very simple, you look at the equations, it's obvious, but it's a very interesting thing that in a complex flow like this one, the difference between the fuel mass fraction and the oxidizer mass fraction has no source term. It is a passive scalar. Okay? And we know that passive scalars, as I've said before, are much easier to solve for than the initial equations which have source terms. So this is one passive scalar. if we combine now, for example, the first equation with the last one, we can do the same thing. We multiply, for example, the first by Q, and then we add it with this one, and we'll have these two terms go away, this one with this one. So what will be left? Well, Z2, the second passive scalar that we can form, is the following. We take the fuel mass fraction from the first equation, and if we add this quantity, Cp over Q, multiplied by T, so in other words, we take the last equation, we multiply it by Cp over Q, and we sum everything. Then these terms disappear. Some of you who are not sleeping probably saw that you need a Cp here. You will check that out. So this Z2 will have the same equation, okay? Rho d Z2 dt equal gradient of rho d grad Z2. Same thing, passive scalar. And the last Z, of course, Z3, you have to combine these two equations, and you can do that in the following way. You take the oxidizer mass fraction, and you multiply it by S Cp T over Q. And of course, you obtain again a passive scalar equation. Which means also there's a Cp missing here. Now, we have now an interesting point here. We have built 3 passive scalars. And remember, I'm going to try to use the same arguments I used before. I want to use the argument that if 2 variables or 3 variables have the same equation and the same boundary conditions, then they should be equal. The point here is that these 3 variables have the same equation, but for the moment, they don't have the same boundary conditions. I'm going to write these boundary conditions for you, and so you will see that they are different. And we have to work on this problem now. What are the boundary conditions for these quantities? Well, again, we're going to look at the fuel and at the oxidizer side. So Z1, Z2, and Z3. So look at this picture up there, and you try to compute Z1 in the fuel. So what is it going to be? Well, in the fuel, YF is equal to YF0, and there is no oxidizer. So Z1F here, which is the value of Z1 in the fuel, must be equal to S YF0. And in the oxidizer, the fuel is 0, and the oxidizer is minus YO0. So here, I have Z1 in the oxidizer equal to minus YO0. You see how I'm doing things, okay? I have here the general definition of these 3 quantities, and I'm just looking at their extreme values in the 2 streams of injection. For Z2, same idea now. What is Z2 in the fuel mass injection? Z2F. It will be YF0 plus Cp over Q TF0. And in the oxidizer, the fuel mass fraction will be 0. The temperature will be TO0. So here I will obtain Cp over Q TO0. And you see that, of course, the extreme values, the boundary conditions for these two Z are different. They are not equal. So I cannot use the trick I've used before for the moment. I cannot say the two quantities are equal everywhere. Not yet. Just wait. Now, the last one here, Z3, in the fuel, is YO in the fuel, which is 0, plus SCP. So it will be SCP over Q TF0. And in the oxidizer, we'll have YO0 plus the temperature of the oxidizer. So it will be Z3O equal YO0 plus SCP over Q TO0. Okay, so you see none of these boundary conditions are the same. So at this point, we need to do something about this. Well, it's not that much of a problem because those are linear variables, so we can combine them to have the boundary conditions we would like to have. So we're going to define new passive scalars by small z I equal big Zi minus Zi in the fuel in the oxidizer divided by Zi in the fuel minus Zi in the oxidizer. So you see, basically, I'm going to say that the small Z1 is big Z1 minus its value in the oxidizer, normalized by the difference between these two. So, of course, now there is not much choice. If I define my small Zi this way, the Zi's have the following boundary conditions. By construction, the small Zi's, they are, when you're in the fuel, ZIF minus ZIO divided by ZIF minus ZIO, so obviously it's 1. And when you're in the oxidizer, ZIO minus ZIO, 0. Now, all my small Zi's have the same boundary conditions now. Oh, that's good. It means that all the Zi's have to be equal. Z1, small z1 equals small z2 equals small z3, and we call it Z. And this is again our friend, the mixture fraction. Now things get more interesting, huh? So it really means that in a flow like this, I can also define a unique passive scalar, and when this passive scalar is varying between 0 and 1, we call it also the mixture fraction. It's 0 in the oxidizer, it's 1 in the fuel, exactly like it was before. It's the same, actually, as it was before. But now it's equal to these three quantities here, Z1, Z2, Z3. So what are these numbers? What are these variables? Z1, small z1. Well, small z1, let me write this down. So small z1 is equal to big Z1 minus Z1 in the oxidizer divided by big Z1 in the fuel minus big Z1 in the oxidizer. So you just replace. Big Z1 is SYF minus YO minus Z10, so that's plus YO0 divided by Z1 in the fuel. In my table up there, it's SYF0 plus YO0. Remember that in this equation, there are only two things which are changing. YF depends where we are in the flow, and YO. All the rest is constant. Okay, those are not unknowns. What we are looking for is an equation or a solution for the fuel mass fraction, the oxidizer mass fraction, and the temperature. Those are the three things we're looking for. The rest, we don't care. Those are constant. And so we know this thing is equal to Z, the mixture fraction. We can do the same thing for small z2. We just replace it, and we find that z2 is T minus TO0 plus QYF over CP divided by Tf naught minus To naught plus Q YF0 over Cp. Again, just by replacing by the expression there, and this is also equal to Z. And the last one, small z3, is equal to T minus To0 plus Q over SCP YO minus YO0 divided by TF0 minus TO0 plus Q over SCP YO0. And it's also equal to Z. Oops. Okay, we're going to stop 2 minutes here so that you have time to think about it and write it down. The variables here are circled in red. And remember, when I did this show half an hour ago for mixing, I said, well, great, now everything depends on Z, I have the solution. What we have here is not this yet. What we see here is that if I know Z at one point, I know a combination of temperature and oxidizer mass fraction, a combination of temperature and fuel mass fraction, a combination of fuel and oxidizer mass fraction. I don't know individually temperature or fuel or oxidizer mass fraction. So the problem is not finished yet. If I have just these equations, I don't have enough to finish the problem. Now, how can we do that? We need one more assumption. And this is a strange assumption, something which, when I will talk about it now, you will find it easy, and afterwards you will think about it again and say, well, there's something strange about that. We're going to use an additional assumption, and that's the last one we need here. I'm going to write here with the list of assumptions. And this is the infinitely fast chemistry. So what does that mean? Well, it means chemistry is fast, okay? No one is infinitely fast. When we say infinitely fast chemistry, we mean chemistry is faster than all other mechanisms. For example, convection or diffusion, which are what we have in a flame. Convection diffusion reaction. So we're saying reaction goes much faster than all the other mechanisms. Why is that useful here? Another way to say that chemistry is infinitely fast, so this is infinitely fast chemistry. You can phrase it like this, or you can phrase it like this, or you can phrase it like this. Fuel and oxidizer concentrations cannot be non-zero, cannot be both non-zero at one point. Well, it's a complex sentence to say that either you have YF equals 0 or you have YO equals 0. So let me spend a few seconds on that. The idea is the following. If chemistry is very fast and you have fuel and oxidizer at one point, combustion will occur extremely fast. And so either fuel will disappear if you are in a lean zone, or oxidizer will disappear, but you cannot have at the same point fuel and oxidizer. Okay? And this is, if you think about it, this is really what infinitely fast chemistry is saying, is that either you have fuel or you have oxidizer, but you cannot have both at the same point. And there is one point in which case, in this case, which is singular, at the flame itself, at the flame front, YF equal YO equals 0. The flame is the point where you get exactly 0 fuel and 0 oxidizer. Where is this point? In the Z space. This is also a name that you will hear quite often. When people talk about curves versus Z, they talk about the Z space or the mixture fraction space. You see here that if fuel equal to 0 in mass fraction and oxidizer equal to 0, you find a certain value of Z, which we call the stoichiometric value, and it's the same as before. If you look at this expression, this value is obtained at Z stoichiometric equal YO divided by SYF0 plus YO0, which you can also write 1 over 5 plus 1, the one I've written before. So the flame is exactly here. And why is it useful? Well, you know that we had here combinations of, for example, fuel and oxidizer mass fraction. But now we know that either one is 0 or the other one is 0. So if one of them is 0, right away I can have the other one. So I'm going to do that slowly for you now. Again, I need to come back to the Z space. So here we have fuel, pure fuel, and here we have oxidizer. What I'm saying here is that the flame now is here. At Z stoichiometric equal 1 over 1 plus 5, I have the flame. The flame is infinitely fast. What does it mean? It means that the reaction will take place only at this value. So we'll have a Dirac function here for the reaction rate. Everything burns here. So this is the flame front in the Z space. I will come back later from the Z space to the real space. But in the Z space, things are much simpler to explain. So it means really that now this value here, where the flame is, splits the world in two. A rich side, where you have a lot of fuel, and a lean side, where you have no fuel. So here we'll have a rich side and a lean side. So in the rich side, you have no oxidizer, you have only fuel. And in the lean side, you have only oxidizer. So you see right away that you can start plotting what I was interested in, which are the profiles. For example, the profiles of the fuel. Well, the fuel mass fraction obviously will be 0 up to that point. Okay? This will be Y fuel of Z. And the oxidizer mass fraction will be 0 up to that point, YO of Z. I've put this stoichiometric on purpose on the left side. For most flames, this stoichiometric, remember, is less than 0.1. So most curves look exactly what I'm showing here. There is a big shift of this structure towards the left here. So I need to construct this, the rest here of the lines. How do I do that? Well, now it's easier because if I use the infinitely fast chemistry assumption and the structure which is here, I can solve now the problem. So let me do it. Let me do it on the lean side, for example, first. Lean side is here. It's a place where there is no fuel. So in this equation, YF equal to 0, so I can find YO. Okay, I just need to write it down. This gives me minus YO plus YO0 divided by SYF0 plus YO0 equals Z. There is a convenient way now to write this equation is to introduce Z stoichiometric here by saying that this thing is minus YO plus YO0 multiplied by Z stoichiometric divided by YO0. This is equal to this quantity. and this is equal to z. So you just substitute, you find yo equal yo0 multiplied by 1 minus z divided by z stoichiometric. So you see here that this expression is actually expected. Huh? When z equals z stoichiometric, that means when you are here, there is no oxidizer. And when z equals 0, you find yo0. So this thing is nothing else than that. And here you have yo0. And remember, an hour ago we were plotting the mixing lines. The mixing line was here. The mixing line here was something like this. This was the mixing line. You see now that we have combustion, the points are not in the mixing line anymore. They are on the infinitely fast chemistry limit, which is here. What about this part here? This is on the rich side. Well, on the rich side, it's the other way. You have O equal to 0. So if you replace here, you find SYF plus YO0 divided by SYF0 plus YO0 equals Z. And again, if you introduce Z stoichiometric in this value, in this expression, you obtain YF equal YF0 multiplied by Z minus Z stoichiometric divided by 1 minus Z stoichiometric. So how does this curve look like? At Z equals Z stoichiometric, it's equal to 0. And at Z equal 1, it's equal to YF0. So it's a curve like this one. Here you have YF0. So those are now the two lines which we call the infinitely fast chemistry limit, where all points in a diffusion flame must be. They must be lying somewhere on this point. So if I know Z, for example, in a combustor like this, I know that the mixture fraction is here, for example. Well, I know right away that there will be no oxidizer and the fuel will be equal to this value. And actually, I haven't used that many assumptions for the moment. And you will see that in the real world, these lines are really very well satisfied by experiments, for example. In an experiment, it's possible to measure the mixture fraction and to measure the species concentration, and we found that those lines are really good. Okay, I have done the fuel mass fraction, the oxidizer mass fraction. I haven't done the temperature. The temperature is, of course, the last thing we need here. What about temperature? Well, temperature, you do it the same way. For example, if you need the temperature on the lean side, where you have YF equal to 0, you're going to take this expression here and say YF equal to 0. So it will give you right away T minus TO0 divided by TF0 minus TO0 plus Q YF0 over CP, this expression, equal to Z. And this gives you a very useful result. If you just put this here and develop that, you will find T equals Z TF0 plus 1 minus Z TO0 plus Q YF0 over CP Z. So the temperature On the lean side, here, we'll have this expression. It's going to be a linear function of z. As you can see, everything is linear. It will start when z equals 0. It will start from TO0. It has to. So the temperature, I need to clean up a little bit that if this thing must be legible. The temperature will start here from TO0. And it's a function which grows with temperature. So the temperature will go up and reach a maximum value at stoichiometric, which we are going to call Tmax. And on the rich side, where YO equals 0, we're going to use this equation to find the temperature. And the temperature, I'm going to write it here, will look almost the same. It's Z TF0 plus 1 minus Z TO0. So that's the same beginning of the expression, and then behind it, you have just a correction term, which is QYF0 over Cp. Z stoichiometric multiplied by 1 minus Z divided by 1 minus Z stoichiometric. When Z is equal to Z stoichiometric, you see this term goes away. And of course, fortunately, you find exactly the same thing than here for Z stoichiometric. In other words, these two curves, they are continuous here. They have the same value here. And then they go like this. TF naught. Okay? So what I've just done here, construct this temperature of Z, Y fuel of Z, YO of Z, is called the flame structure in Z space. Or in mixture fraction space, about the same. And it's a very, very, very basic notion in diffusion flame. All the papers you're going to see on diffusion flames, they all plot things in this space because the theory tells us that things should, look this way. So just to give you an idea of a much, much more complex case, I'm going to show you here a few of these curves in much more complicated cases. For example, this case here is a turbulent flame. So it's a very complex flame, and it's a real flame. And you will see that this assumption is actually very good here. For this case, you have mixture fraction from 0 to unity. Unity is not plotted. The stoichiometric value here is about 0.2 something. And you can see here the oxidizer mass fraction, the fuel mass fraction, and the temperature. And you can see here all the points correspond to measurements. And you can see that we are very close to what we expect here. I will explain later why these things don't have a sharp gradient here, but are continuous. But even in a turbulent flow, everything I've said here would work, which will be much more complicated, but still the idea that mixing takes place this way, the flame is around Z stoichiometric, this will always be found in all diffusion flames, except if they are close to quenching or ignition. But for most flames, this is really a very good assumption. Now, there are lots of things to say about this thing. The first thing I want to do is to use a more intuitive approach to derive the same thing. You look at this expression here. You see the beginning of this expression here? ZTF0 plus 1 minus ZTO0. This is the mixing temperature that we found for the mixing line. Okay? So it seems there is a very simple interpretation of an expression like this, which is to say we have here the temperature of the mixture plus something else, which probably is combustion. So I just want to demonstrate that to you now. Using a method which is very, very classic also for diffusion flames, instead of working with the equations like I've done here, you can do it, I would say, intuitively, a little bit. I don't like this method because there are things hidden behind it, but it's useful for you to understand that. So, the method is called mixed. It's burnt. This sentence is quite equivalent actually to infinity fast chemistry. It says if things are mixed, then they need to burn right away, right after that. But the way to construct things is to decompose a little bit what's happening in a real flame. So when people work with this method, they say the following. If I sit somewhere in my burner, always the same thing here, I have a certain value of Z at this point. Okay, obviously. So there is a fraction Z coming from stream 1 and a fraction 1 minus Z coming from 2, the stream 2. And I will assume that things take place in 2 steps. There is a first step where I mix things. So basically what I'm going to say is that the diffusion flame here, a process in a diffusion flame can be viewed as a process where I take Z from stream 1 and 1 minus Z from stream 2. I put them in a little box, I mix them, and I'm going to look at the mixing quantities, and then I burn it as a premix flame. So that means I'm going to define here an intermediate state which will be mixed, and then I will burn it in a premix flame. And the idea of the method is to claim that we will reach the same state. Well, if I call this state here 1 prime, for example, so this is in my little box the amount of fuel 1 and fuel 2 which go into my little box, then I squeeze this little box, I mix it, and I'm wondering how much fuel, how much oxygen, and what will be the temperature here in this case. Well, the temperature here will be fixed, like the fuel mass fraction actually, by the mixing lines. We know that if there is no combustion, up to now there has been no combustion. If there is no combustion, the temperature of this little box here will be T of the state 1 prime equal Z Tf naught plus 1 minus Z To naught. We are just mixing 2 streams. The exchange temperature, at the end, the temperature of the mixture of this guy. And the fuel mass fraction there, at this state, 1 prime, will just be, again, given by the mixing line. So it will be YFO Z, because we are on the mixing lines. Now, if you remember now, we are back to the previous lessons. We have a mixture, which is perfectly mixed, of fuel and oxidizer with a given fuel mass fraction and a given temperature. We know that if we burn this thing now, the final temperature, T2, T, we'll call it T, that's sufficient, the temperature after combustion will be equal to the temperature before combustion plus Q YF of the state Y prime divided by Cp. This is what we've done in the last 4 hours, last week. In a premix burner, you start from the initial state. You have an increase of temperature which is linked to the fuel mass fraction. So you just replace these 2 things here, and surprise, surprise, you find, of course, Z Tf naught plus 1 minus Z To naught plus Q YF 0 over Cp Z. I've just substituted these 2 things here. Everything I've said here is valid on the lean side. If we would be on the rich side, we would have to do a slightly different demonstration, but we would find the second relation up there. So you see this relation here is exactly the same as the one I have written from a more complicated mathematical description. There are lots of details here. I don't want to discuss them now, because the idea that you could view a diffusion flame as just a process where you mix things and then you burn it is a dangerous idea. If you think about it for a long time, you will get a headache. But still, it has a nice advantage here, is that it really shows you that when you have combustion, you have two parts here. This is the mixing temperature. Just the temperature you will obtain if you mix the two streams, nothing magical about it. And then there is a temperature increase. And this one is due to combustion. Okay? So just before I finish this first part, let me also show you another practical implication of what we are saying here. You see that if you are one of these particles entering a domain like this, life for you is kind of difficult. Either you have to go through the flame or you have to avoid the flame. If you are able to avoid the flame, you're traveling on the mixing lines. So you're traveling on this line here, for example, for the temperature. And if you're not able to avoid the flame and you're unfortunate enough to cross the flame, then you are going to burn. You're going to be sitting on the equilibrium chemistry here, the infinity fast chemistry. So that means that all the possible states for you, if you take a point here and you measure Z and you measure T, all the possible points you can have must be here. You cannot be here or here or there. It's just impossible. If your chemistry is not fast enough, you're going to be in between here. But this is basically a point when you travel from here to there. This is not yet burned. And when you're going to burn, you're going to go there and go to the burn conditions. Okay? And the two lines I have drawn here correspond to the two extreme cases, the mixing case and the infinity fast chemistry case. And most flames are actually close to the infinity fast chemistry case. There are more sophisticated models where we'll find that the points are not exactly lying on these lines, but still, this thing is extremely close to the real structure of a diffusion flame. Okay? So we are going to stop here for 15 minutes, 20, and we'll start again at 10:15. We need to finish this thing. It's not finished yet. Why do we need to finish it? I haven't told you the real end to this problem. I have told you that I could show you how to construct T of Z, Y F of Z, Y O of Z. Those are just straight lines in this diagram. But if you are an engineer, you don't care about that. What you want to know is temperature at one point and one instant, fuel mass fraction at one point and one instant. And this is not sufficient. To finish the problem, what do you need? Well, you need to have Z as a function of X and T. If you have these two things, then you will be able to find T as a function of the space, location, and the time. This procedure, in which we split the problem of a diffusion flame in two parts. One part here which is called the flame structure, and in which you have used models. Here we have used the infinitely fast chemistry assumption. And the second part, where we need to solve for Z of X and T, is really what you're going to find in all codes. Okay? It's really the standard, especially for turbulent combustion. Why is it simpler? Well, because here the equation of Z is a simple equation. It's just, again, a scalar equation saying rho dz dt equal gradient of rho d grad Z, with Z equal 1 in the fuel inlet and Z equal 0 in the oxidizer inlet. This problem, of course, has to be depending on the geometry. And I'm going to show you later two solutions to this problem in simple geometries. But the general solution remains the same. How do we solve for a flame in general? We solve only this equation, which is much simpler. Then we add the flame structure, and then we have the solution to the problem. So I need to show you now how to solve this equation. Okay, that's all for the moment.